Yeah, so I'm Hailey. I have been coming to Ekklesia for either like 3 to 4 months now. I always sit in the way back in that corner. Always. I'm always there. And I sit by myself. So on Easter, it was my first service I'd ever been to for Easter. And the first Easter that was meaningful besides a bunny. And my children were actually with their father in Vermont. So it was my first Easter alone. It was my first Easter in South Carolina and my first Easter in faith. And I thought I was going to be really sad. And I ended up coming to church and I was so moved. I watched Pastor Matt do all of the baptisms, and I always sit in the way back in that corner. Always. I'm always there. And I sit by myself. And I kept watching and watching and watching, and I was like, I really want to do it. I should really do it. You know, the voice in my head, like, no, I want my kids to see. And so I ended up not. I didn't go up. I watched everybody else. And then I planned to meet Cindy after service anyways. And as soon as I saw her, I said, I know what I have to do. I said, I need to get baptized. I said, I didn't get baptized, and I know that if I leave this church today not getting baptized, like, I'm gonna live with this regret. And I was really moved by, I believe it was Romans 6, 1-8. That was the scripture that I was like, why am I making excuses? I found Pastor Matt and he was like, let's do it. And I said, I want my kids to be here, but more than that, I want to get my kids back and be a better mom and be able to share with them. And yeah, so I got kind of in between service. We came back and I got baptized. So I made a goal the day I got baptized. I wanted to participate in the 40-day discipleship, the fasting and the revival and everything that's going on. And my goal was that I did not want to take one sip of alcohol throughout that whole time. And I have never done that besides when I was pregnant 2 times. Yeah, and I've done it. Today is a month and 1 day. I had a very difficult childhood. There was alcohol use in my home very heavily. And it wasn't just my direct family, but it was all throughout my family tree. Almost everybody in my family had alcohol issues. And when I was 13, I actually was introduced to marijuana and alcohol at 13. And at 13, it just kind of became like, you see adults having fun. You see everybody loosen up and have fun when they're drinking. And as I kept getting older, it just became like a normal thing. And it has put me in a lot of, now reflecting, I can see how many things I've probably done due to alcohol and how heavy it was in my life. So it's always been a coping mechanism though. Stressful relationship. Drink alcohol. Even like fighting in a relationship, like, let's go out with all of our friends after we're clearly not getting along and let's just numb it with alcohol. My kids are stressing me out. Let me get a babysitter and let me go drink. And then the whole next day, the recovery afterwards is like misery. It's just a lot. Even work, like, I would plan like, oh, but if I work this shift, like, I'm either gonna be drinking or I'm gonna be hungover. And that's like my whole life was planned around it, and I didn't even know it. I didn't even know. Because you sit there and you're like, well, I don't drink every day. I don't get drunk every day. I'm not an alcoholic. I do not have a problem. And then you start to dig and you're like, okay. Growing up, my family was not faith-based. My family did not talk about Jesus. They did not talk about God. They didn't teach me Christianity. Now as an adult, realize, wow, that would have been a really good tool for me to have growing up. And I didn't have that tool, but the tool I had in my belt was alcohol. And you can go buy it at the store, instant gratification, like boom, boom, boom. And now I realize, no, I can I have this tool, I have Jesus. I can pray when I feel stressed. I can read scripture when I feel stressed. I can message somebody in the sisterhood or brotherhood and I can get answers, or they'll send me scripture, or they'll pray for me. Like, I don't have to go buy a drink to temporarily drown it. Sunday is like my reset day. It's where I know, like, I'm getting refueled for this entire week. I used to be very short-fused, had to be heard, had to get my point across, and it didn't matter, and I wouldn't stop and think. And I've noticed that I'm able to step back and just like think on it and actually pray about it. I finally feel like accepted. I finally feel like things are gonna work out exactly how they're supposed to work out, and I just am able to like be at full peace. I have never in years, I have not been able to fall asleep. Like, I sit at night and I think and I think and I think and I think and I cannot turn my brain off. For the past month, I have not had to take one sleeping medication. I can sleep at night. Pray every single night before I go to bed, and I just, like, I can feel the overall peace. And as for my household, I'm a single mom with 2 kids, so when you're not at peace with yourself, that often can come out in lash at your children. And I'm by no means a perfect mom still, but I just find myself enjoying moments a lot more. Prior, it would be like, no, I'm gonna drink, I'm gonna drink a beer, or I'm gonna relax, and you guys are not gonna bother me. It takes one small step. Can literally be the girl in the back row by yourself. I literally was sitting in traffic on 501 in my work car, and I was like, what is this building? I Googled this name, and I looked at the ministry, and that is how I found this church. I mean, I didn't know anybody months ago. I just slyly came in and slyly came out until I was ready. I didn't even know like what the communion little cups were. The room was vibrating and everybody was standing and arms, hands were in the air, people were praying, and I just was like, wow. I liked the way that scripture is shown, but it's like he breaks it down. Like, it's shown, broken down, and really related to something in real life. Where you can, Pastor Matt made an omelet on the stage. Yeah. Who does that? Especially in the morning. Like, it was rude that he didn't have enough for everybody. First off, it smells so good. And I love that it's mixed ages. I feel like it was magical when I first came in here. I was like, wow, I have found the place. And the kids love the classrooms. You're gonna make it. All of the heavy things can be lifted if you let them go. Let God. Stop making excuses and stop coming up with reasons why you can't. And also that I'm worthy of a relationship with Jesus, to have my sins forgiven.